Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vol Society Live on this Tuesday night. A very busy Tuesday night across the sports world. My name is David Morrison. Thank you for being a part of Vol Society. Got a lot to talk about tonight. We're going to dive into some Tennessee basketball, both the men's and the women's, having some very interesting weekends so far. And we will also have an update on the Tennessee football team and the Tennessee baseball schedule. Or I should say, ESPN released the college baseball schedule, and Tennessee is going to be heavily featured throughout the college baseball season. Once again, my name is David Morrison. The chat room is open. Go ahead, leave your comments or your questions if you want to across our social media platforms: Facebook.com/UT Society, YouTube.com/Vol Society, and on Twitter at Society Vol. All right, let's go ahead and dive into tonight's show. Let's go ahead and start with Tennessee basketball. The men's had a very interesting game Saturday up at Thompson-Boling Arena. I was there live and in person as the Tennessee Volunteers at that time was ranked number 2 in the country. We've now slipped down to number 6 in the country in this week's AP poll. Took on then number 25 Auburn, now unranked. Vols ended up getting the win 46-43. Gotta be honest with you guys, it was a very boring game. Uh, Watching it live in person, Auburn came out pretty red hot at the beginning. Took an early 10-2 lead going into the first media timeout. But then Rick Barnes made some adjustments. He started Akamwa at one of the forward positions, along with Julian Phillips, and he quickly made those substitutions. Brought in Uros Plavicius, brought in brought in Adu, brought in Aqua, and completely kind of changed Auburn's offense. Tennessee played great defense throughout the entire game, but both teams just could not get into a flow offensively throughout the game, and it just was not really a great offensive game once and for all. Very, very boring, very lackluster, to be quite honest with you. But the Vols do get a win, 46-43. There was. I guess we can go ahead and talk about the ending of the game, where Wendell Gray Jr. was going up for the three, and the referees did not call the cylinder foul. Obviously, the media came out and said there should have been a foul call. I agree there should have been a foul call, but the referees in the game did not call anything like the last 2 minutes of the game. It was just kind of a free-for-all to the final buzzer. And, why start calling fouls by then? I mean, we saw Santee get thrown into the Auburn bench right before the Wendell Green three-pointer. Didn't call it, did nothing. So, but, Tennessee does escape with the win 46-43. Side Jordan James led the way, scoring 15 points on the night. Second leading scorer was Akamwa with 9. I don't know how he got that. He didn't shoot the ball at all well. He was 4 for 16 on the day. And there was one point in the game where Akamwa had the ball in the paint, made a move on the Auburn guy. The Auburn guy, I don't know if he tried to flop or he just, fell back. I mean, I knew he fell back, but I don't know if he was just taken down or he tried to draw a charge on Akamwa. But Akamwa was just wide open, no one around him, and instead of going in for a layup or a slam dunk, anything, he pulled up and took a hook shot and completely missed it. And it was just the frustration of that whole game throughout the whole afternoon was just, what are we doing out there? I mean, just, I don't mind a good defensive game for both teams, shutting down the cuts, not getting you guys open, but when both teams don't have much of an offense going, it's like watching paint dry or the grass grow, and we certainly saw that Saturday. Uh, and looking at the final stats, I'll start with Tennessee first. Tennessee finished the day 17 for 63 on the field, 27% shooting. 2 for 21 from downtown, in the last three-pointer that Sandy Nell ended up becoming a foul, which he ended up nailing the free throw. 9% from downtown. That is not going to win you basketball games of all fans. And that concerns me going kind of the rest of the way of the season. Now, I'm not saying we're going to miss the NCAA tournament. Obviously, we're still locked because of our resume and everything built up towards it. But if we get into the tournament and we come up against a team that has really great three-point shooting, a really high percentage team, similar to an Arizona we saw back in December, Tennessee's going to be in a lot of trouble in March Madness. And I don't know what we could do. I love Rick Barnes to death. I think he's a great defensive-minded coach. But these offensive numbers just scare me. And we, it's great we can hold Auburn to 43 points or hold an opponent to 50 points. But you just never know what this Tennessee offense will do night in and night out. Are they going to come out and score 50 themselves, or are they going to come out and score 75? You just kind of never know. They're at times can get inconsistent, and we kind of seen this the last 2 or 3 years. And I'm not trying to put Rick Barnes on the hot seat or anything. I love Rick Barnes. He's been obviously our best coach since Bruce Pearl, but it's just very eye-opening seeing what you saw on Saturday and then go back to the Florida loss. It's like, what are we doing? I mean, Zakai Ziegler. Everybody says Zakai Ziegler is one of the best point guards in the nation, and he went 0 for 10 and 0 for 7 from three-point land. He finished with 3 points, and they're all free throws. So, just I hate to bash this team because I like these guys. I like Ziegler. I like Josiah Jordan-James. I like Santee. I like Akamwa. I like all these guys. But I got to call what I see. And it's just not a great performance. And it's kind of concerning going down the stretch. And, for Auburn, this is not the same Auburn team we've seen year in and year out with Bruce Pearl, with the the high up-tempo teams, a lot of three-point shooting. This is a very they're a similar team to us. They were they shot 23% from the field themselves, 3 for 27 from three-point land. So they had one more than us, but they didn't get into a good offensive flow. Now, granted, they took some more losses than us, obviously, for the record. But I'm sure Auburn fans probably have the same concern as we do as Tennessee fans, but just kind of eye-opening. They did held Wendell Green to 9 points in the game. That was kind of my key going into that. Is like, can we hold Wendell Green point total down, since he was the leading scorer going into that game, and we did. KD Johnson did score 10 points for Auburn off the bench. And Broome led the way in scoring with 11 points for the Auburn Tigers. But just an ugly game on Saturday. It's a win. We'll take the win. It probably somewhat improve our bracketology projection. And we'll dive into bracketology in just a moment. But definitely something to keep an eye out on, Vol fans, as we head down the stretch. Anyways, our balls will play Wednesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern Time tip-off against Vanderbilt. I think Tennessee can rebound nicely and put up a good performance. But like I said, I want to still play great defense. And they're going to play great defense. But this Tennessee team needs to get back to what we saw in the Battle of Atlantis, where they just dominated Kansas. We need to see this Tennessee team that was, just last month, playing some great basketball. Just kind of looking back at their schedule, they took on Georgia back on January 25th, 170-41. Even the Tennessee team that we saw in the Big 12 Challenge against Texas, where they won over the Longhorns 82-71. Can we get back to this very consistent Tennessee team, or have we kind of peaked too early? But we'll see. But Tennessee's got a pretty heavy schedule coming up down the stretch throughout February. mentioned we go to Nashville tomorrow night to play Vanderbilt. We get Missouri coming to Knoxville this Saturday, and this is a good Missouri team. They're 17-6 on the year. They kind of floating in and out of the top 25 for the most part this season. But yeah, this can be a tricky Missouri team. You know, kind of similar to Auburn, to be honest with you. Now, hopefully, it's not a game that the first of 45 wins. Hopefully, our Vols can play a lot better. And then the big game coming up on February 15th. The day after Valentine's Day. Definitely the game of the year for the Vols as Alabama comes to Knoxville on a Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. This is going to really determine how serious this Tennessee team is this year. Although I did mention once we get in the tournament, if we take on a high-scoring team, I'm not liking our chances. But this is a good test for us that, maybe could change my mind or maybe change the national perspective. Still get another game with Kentucky coming up on the 18th. You take on Texas A&M at Texas A&M. Texas A&M right now is, I think, third in the SEC standings. You get another game with South Carolina. That should be an easy win. And then Arkansas, and then a road trip to Auburn to wrap up the season. That Auburn game is in March. I'm going to tell you this. I know we're still a long ways from that Auburn game on March the 4th. I think there's going to be some revenge in that game. I know probably that Auburn team's probably got a bad taste in their mouth, including Bruce Pearl. So be prepared for anything when we go down to Auburn on the 4th of March for a 4 o'clock tip-off. But that's a look at kind of the Tennessee schedule. As far as the current SEC standings go, the guys are second in the SEC. Behind Alabama, who's still undefeated. They're 10-0 in SEC play going into this week. Texas A&M is third, and Auburn is fourth. Now, keep in mind, Vol fans, the top four teams that finish in the SEC regular standings gets a double bye in the SEC tournament. So, kind of a reminder there, which means the Vols will not play until Friday of the SEC tournament, which the SEC tournament normally starts on that Wednesday, and then you have quarterfinal Thursday, and then second round Thursday, then quarterfinal Friday. Take that back. But yeah, if you finish in the top four in the SEC, you get the double bye in that one. Shout out to Tim leaving us a like on the Facebook page. But yeah, definitely. Very interesting to see what this Tennessee basketball team is going to do down the stretch. There's some caution optimistic going on right now in Knoxville, including myself. But as far as the bracketology goes, looking at the latest from Joe Lunardi at ESPN, he has Tennessee still at a number 2 seed, playing in the Greensboro region, just right down the road from our founder Brad's neck of the woods in Charlotte. And he has us playing Colgate. And if we win that one, he has us playing the 7-10 matchup, which is either Duke or West Virginia. And I got to tell you, I saw Duke play the last couple of games that they've been on TV. They defeated North Carolina, but then turned around and lost to Miami. But the freshman Filipello is a good scorer. And if that is the projection, I'm going to be a little nervous to play him. But we'll see how the Vols will do down the stretch. Still got a lot of basketball to go. It's not time. We're not hitting the panic button, but it's something to kind of keep our eyes with a S, David, on as we head down to February, and should be very, very interesting to see what happens down the stretch. All right, let's switch over to the Lady Vols really quick. Excuse me as I had to take a water break there. Lady Vols played last night down in Starkville. Heartbreaking loss. Double overtime loss to Mississippi State. I think 91-90 was the final score. All right, we're going to be honest again. Kellie Harper. Kellie Harper's been at Knoxville for 3 years now. Lady Vol for life. won the three-peat national championship in the mid-90s. A disciple of Pat Summitt. I'm a fan of hers. But I'm looking at this Lady Vols program. I projected back at the beginning of the season they would finish second in the SEC behind South Carolina. Right now, Dawn Staley in South Carolina is the queens of college basketball right now, as far as women's college basketball goes. I thought Tennessee can at least be a serious threat with them. They have underachieved, obviously. And LSU, with Kim Malarkey in her second season in Baton Rouge, they're undefeated, number 3 in the country, and they're about to play South Carolina on Sunday. So I look at this Lady Vols team. A very good team, I might say. Yes, she lost to Mary Key. Had the blood clot injury. You can't control that. And we wish the best recovery for Key. But then you look at Rakia Jackson, you look at Jordan Horston, you look at Tess Darby, you look at Sarah Puckett, you look at this Lady Vols team. They got the talent, but why do they got 9 losses right now? And we've seen this going back to even Holly Warlick. And I'm concerned about Kelly Jolly's job security going forward. Because I'm looking right now at the latest bracketology polls. And right now Tennessee is a number 7 seed. Yes, they've played a tough schedule. Yes, they've lost a close game to Stanford. They lost to a close game to Indiana, which I think now they're number 2 in the country. They've lost to some other teams. But, you know, you can lose to these ranked teams and still make the tournament. Yeah. But you got to start winning some of these games. And now you're 9-2 in SEC play. And that's fine and good, everything. But I really thought Tennessee should have beat UConn when they came to Knoxville. I really thought they probably should have beat Indiana before they really took off. Kellie Harper, is she the right coach for us? Right now, I'm kind of leaning towards no. And I like Kellie. I have the poster of the first team of Kellie Harper back there. Some great Lady Vols back there also. But it's very concerning seeing where this Lady Vols program is going. And I get it. Pat Summitt, GOAT coach. Never going to duplicate what she did. But this is a very talented Lady Vols team. To me, that's just getting miscoached. They're not setting these ladies up to be successful and to climb in the SEC right now. We're just kind of stuck in neutral. So it's going to be very interesting to see what this Lady Vols program is going to look going towards the end of this season. And if you're Danny White, do you still just be like, okay, well, Kellie Harper, she's a legend. She's going to stay here as long as she can. You know, the fan base is good. And it's good, and people are coming out in droves to see the Lady Vols. But it's going to come down to wins and losses, folks. And yeah, I understand South Carolina is in our conference. They're the juggernauts. LSU is climbing up there. Why can't we be up there? We got the talent, we got the resources, we got the NIL. I mean, has the brand of the Lady Vols name, has it kind of been tainted? You know, we saw the football program take a big hit up until Josh Heupel arrived. You know, is it time to hit the reset button? Or do we still trust Kellie? Just let her keep on going. So it's going to be very interesting to see. And, you know, if you have comments about it, please let me know. If you agree with me or disagree with me, that's great. If you think I'm crazy, that's fine too. I'm just very concerned with this Lady Vols program. And even last night, yes, I know they're playing tough. I know they're hanging in there with teams, but you got to get these wins. And I just don't see this Lady Vols program going anywhere. It's just kind of stuck. So it's kind of a tough thing to say, but I'm being kind of more honest tonight about the basketball programs, and I'm very positive, very optimistic and stuff. But I'm kind of calling what I see it. But Lady Vols got some. I mean, they still got to play South Carolina coming up, and I'm afraid they're going to take one in the chin. But I hope Kelly Harper proves me wrong. The last time I made a plead with her, Lady Vols went undefeated in SEC play up until they took their first loss. So please prove me wrong again, Kelly Harper. Please let me get back on your good side, and this time be serious about it. All right. So there's the Lady Vols covering there. All right. So let's talk about football really quick. Couple of Josh Heupel announced a couple of coaches today. So go ahead and pull it up. The first name I want to mention is a VFL. Former Tennessee football player Robert Ayers Jr. is now on the Tennessee coaching staff. He is going to be a defensive graduate analyst. More recently, he's been in the high school coaching circuit in the Knoxville area. Last season was the defensive coordinator at Oak Ridge High School in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, which I didn't know that until today. And I just saw Oak Ridge play last year in my hometown. So, congratulations! So awesome for Robert Ayers Jr. getting a college job. Congratulations to him on getting this coaching job. And then Andrew Goodman named the new director of football operations for the Tennessee football team. Most recently at UConn, he was in the same position. Was part of this last year's program that sent UConn to their first bowl game in many, many years. So we welcome Andrew Goodman to Rocky Top as the new director of football operations. Give a shout out to Scotty leaving us a like on the Facebook page. Make sure you give us a like or a reaction and give you a shout out while we're live on the air tonight. So really cool. Really cool to see Robert Ayers Jr. back on Rocky Top as a grad analyst, and we also welcome in Andrew Goodman. Senior Bowl was this past Saturday. Hendon Hooker, Byron Young, Darnell Wright competed in the Senior Bowl. Well, Hendon Hooker didn't. He was just there to talk to NFL scouts and talk to NFL teams about, his update in the upcoming NFL draft, which I believe will be either in April or May in the springtime. I do know that. I know he talked to my Titans, and I know he talked to several other teams and said that he could be throwing by April. So look forward to see how Hendon Hooker does. Of course, he tore the ACL in the South Carolina game. We all know the story by heart now. So excited to see that. Hearing good stuff about Darnell Wright. Did very well in Mobile, where the Senior Bowl was. A lot of people says he could be a first-round draft pick. So happy to see Darnell. I remember when he was recruited. I believe he was kind of in that tail end of the Butch Jones run. I believe him and Wanya Morris were the two five-star offensive linemen that was recruited in that same class, and obviously Wanya went on to play at Oklahoma. I'm sure he'll probably be a highly drafted pick. And, happy for Darnell just sticking it out at Tennessee. Went through, like I said, recruited by Butch Jones, and then played under Pruitt, and now under Josh Heupel. It seems like, his hard work and patience is now paying off. And can't wait to hear his name called at draft day. And also Byron Young, I heard he did fairly well at Mobile. I know the story. We all know the story about Byron Young. So I'm excited to see. Hopefully they'll talk about his story coming up. During the draft coverage of, former assistant manager at the Dollar General. Got the tryout at a community college down in Georgia, and that led him to get into the NFL. So kind of not a rags to riches story, but definitely I guess you can say an underdog coming from within, and making it to the NFL. So hopefully they'll tell his story during that draft weekend. But happy for our Vols doing very well in Mobile. We had some other Vols play in some other All-Star games. I can't remember off the top of my head where they all went off the top, right now, but you know, our talent pool is definitely getting recognized. I mean, we've always had kind of players drafted in the NFL for Tennessee football, but seems like definitely getting more recognition, and the future's still looking bright for Tennessee football along the way. Um, Go ahead and pull this up really quick here. Uh, see, I think it was from Rocky Top Insider. They did a projection of the depth chart after National Signing Day. Here we go. So this is from RockyTopInsider.com. Give them credit. So I'm kind of looking at the depth chart. There's no real big surprises that they've wrote down. I mean, they have Joe Milton as the starting quarterback, Nico as the backup. They had Jalen Wright listed at number one on the running back depth chart behind Jabari Small. So kind of makes sense. Jabari Small's been kind of banged up since he's been at Tennessee. So not really surprised that they kind of went in that direction. I was interested to see how they have the wide receivers lined up. So they have Brew McCoy lined up as a receiver. I guess as a receiver. I guess you can say X. They didn't really say X, Y, Z in this scenario. But they have Brew McCoy. They have the transfer Dante Thornton on the other receiver, and then they had Squirrel White lined up as the slot. So you look at kind of the rest. Particularly Ramel Keaton. Like I said, Ramel Keaton started in the Orange Bowl last year. He's actually behind Dante Thornton on this depth chart. Of course, we don't see a lot of wide receivers rotate once the offense is in motion. But we do see receivers do come in certain packages under the 2 years seeing Josh Heupel's offense in person. So I think this wide receiver room is pretty depth and some untapped potential. Looking at Chaz Nimrod, Nathan Leacock, Caleb Webb, some of these freshman wide receivers, and others coming along. So definitely very exciting to see. And of course, Joe Milton, the rocket arm he has. Sure, he's going to have a lot of fun. And we saw kind of that preview in the Orange Bowl and the dominating win over Clemson, and excited to see how he'll do when Tennessee takes on Virginia. I believe September 2nd is the first game. The tight ends, I saw Jacob Warren listed along with McCallan Castles, the transfer from UC Davis, and then freshman Ethan Davis. He's still battling an ACL injury or had an ACL injury his senior year in high school, so I'm sure he'll probably be healthy or pretty close to 100% by the time the season rolls around, but we'll get a better look once spring ball opens up. And then nothing real surprising on the offensive line. They had John Campbell, a redshirt senior, listed at right tackle. He's the transfer from Miami. And then defensively, Joshua Josephs, Amari Thomas, Karat Garland on the defensive line. Also Tyra Barron on the defensive line. And linebackers Aaron Beasley and Keenan Pile from BYU. His teammate, we'll talk about in just a second. Matter of fact, we might as well talk about him right now. His teammate from BYU, Gabe Judy Lally, however you say it. I'll learn it by then, by the season starts. He's listed as starting cornerback along with Danico Slaughter, according to RockyTopInsider.com. So very interesting to see how they have the corners listed. I mean, that's going to be definitely the main focal point from Vol fans going into spring ball is how these defensive backs look. We talked about Kamal Haddon and Brandon Turgis from the first transfer portal class that came in from Tennessee. Kind of so far not really worked out. Same thing with Andre Turnage from Ohio State. I mean, I barely even see him on the depth chart. He's actually listed as a safety behind Jalen McCullough. So maybe Gabe can help out along the way. And then the safeties, Tamarion McDonald and Jalen McCullough listed there. So exciting times. Like I said, we're still about a month away from spring ball getting underway. The orange and white game coming up mid-April at Neyland Stadium. First time that in a couple of years we've had the orange and white game in front of a live crowd. Of course, last year we had the constructions at Neyland Stadium, and of course they closed off the spring game to the fans somewhat. And then obviously we all know what happened in 2021. But in 2020, I should say. But very excited to see this team take the field coming up this season. But still got a long ways to go. All right. ESPN today announced their baseball schedule, college baseball schedule. And Tennessee is going to be heavily featured this season. So I have the TV schedule listed. These first couple of games have been previously announced. Tennessee will open the baseball season in 10 days, February 17th, as they will head to the MLB Desert Invitational, and they'll take on the Arizona Wildcats. That's at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 o'clock Central first pitch. The Vols and the Wildcats, and that game will be on MLB Network and also streaming on MLB.com. So if you don't have the MLB Network on your TV package, it will be streamed online on MLB.com. So that definitely helps out there. And then the next day, they'll play Grand Canyon, same time, same channel, 8 o'clock on MLB Network, and same thing on MLB.com. And then once we get into conference play, March 25th, Tennessee will play Texas A&M, a 12 o'clock first pitch. That will be on ESPN2. So definitely, I've seen several games on ESPN2. So two things that tells me. Number one, it seems like ESPN is kind of taking college baseball a little bit more seriously. And number two, Tennessee's a big focal point. Tennessee baseball has kind of been the talk of college baseball the last couple of years, and kind of a must-see TV program to watch. So yeah, put them on TV. Why not? Especially on one of the more I guess, more viewing ESPN channels compared to some of these others. March 30th at LSU, that will be on ESPNU. That's an 8 o'clock game. The next day will be on the SEC Network, 7 o'clock. First pitch. April 7th and 8th, home games against Florida. On the 7th, a 7 o'clock first pitch on SEC Network. And then the next day, 2 o'clock on ESPN2. April 14th at Arkansas, it's an 8 o'clock game on SEC Network. And then the entire Vanderbilt series, April 21st to the 23rd, will all be on TV. I can't remember if that's the Thursday through Saturday or Friday through Sunday. I guess it would be Friday through Sunday because I'm now kind of looking at it with the times. But Friday night will be a 6 o'clock game on the SEC Network. And then the Saturday and Sunday matinee games will be on ESPN2. Saturday at noon, and then Sunday at 1 o'clock. And those games are all in Knoxville, and that's going to be a big-time series at Lindsey Nelson Stadium. And then the Mississippi State Series at home will be April 27th and 29th. The 27th will be 7 o'clock on SEC Network, and the 29th, 2 o'clock on ESPNU. And then the last one they have announced is May 13th at home against Kentucky, a 12 o'clock game on the SEC Network. Obviously, once the season gets going, we'll definitely remind you of when Tennessee's going to be playing on TV and the first pitch. And like I said, we'll post it on our Ball Society pages every game. But yeah, Tennessee baseball coming up. Excited about it. Like I said, Tennessee preseason ranked number 2 in the country. And if you go back to our last Ball Society Live a couple of weeks ago, like the last part of that show, I really broke down this Tennessee baseball team, really talked about the pitching with Chase Dollander, Drew Bream, Chase Burns, and I really truly believe this is going to be a pitching-heavy team, a very defensive-heavy team. We saw last year Tennessee lighten up the scoreboard with Trey Lipscomb and Jordan Beck and Drew Gilbert and those guys, Luke Lippius. I think this is going to be. I think you'll see some runs scored, but I don't think you're going to see them light up the scoreboard. I think it's just going to be a very dominating pitching baseball team, and so should be a lot of fun to see this team take the field here in about 10 days. But definitely a lot of fun. Give one more shout out here. Shout out to my dad leaving the like on the Facebook page. But yeah, so a lot of stuff going on. Kind of it's a busy sports coming up. Tennessee swimming and diving team will be in the SEC championship meets coming up next week. I believe that's down at Texas A&M. Got the men's golf team starting back up. Their play again coming up. Here's some good stuff about them. Of course, you got the spring sports coming up with tennis and softball and track and field. And like I said, Danny White's got this athletics program looking really good, folks, and excited about that. And of course, spring football will be coming up with the orange and white game highlighted in April. And then and of course, we still got a lot of basketball to go. March Madness. Obviously, both programs will be a lock in the NCAA tournament. It's just how serious can they make a deep run, but we will find out. But that's going to do it for Vol Society Live tonight. Make sure you check the replay if you just tuned in, or share the video out. Looking forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks as we continue to give you an update on Tennessee athletics. Until next time, this is David Morrison for Vol Society Live. Have a great night, and go Vols.